And we're live. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. How are you? Only on Sunday mornings, I talk with religious stuff and write down. I got all the spiritual stuff and write down stuff and work out the wisdom book. And that's not bad. Today, I'm going to crochet for no particular reason. Oh, I hate pulling out threads that aren't the. This is frustrating because I want the thread. I'm looking for the loose one. Is that it? I'm just going to crochet this up, and then when we get closer to the part where I tie it off into the other one, we'll. I don't know, do I have to make this into a ball? Do you have to make skeins into a ball? How do you not make skeins into a ball?
If you can find the one that comes out of the middle, you can just sit there and unravel it from the middle.
It's not coming out the middle. Sounds like my life. I get the middle of my life and there it is. Maybe. Is it? Looks like it. Ha ha ha! Alright. And to tie this up. Because, yeah, these two don't blend as much. But it's not a bad color, I just found these. What I guess I'm going to do is kind of seasonal. So we've got summer colors, we got fall colors, and we're gonna have winter colors down here. This is going to be a very bright white. And then I'll work on the spring colors. And that's seasonal for where I live. Closer to the equator, I feel like they don't have the same type of 4 seasons. They just kind of have like 2. What is it? Winter and
What is the equator?
Was it summer and less summer?
Yep, basically.
Or at least that was true before global warming.
And now they just have summer and more and greater summer.
Yeah, some of them are getting snow. Oddly, usually the mountaintops would get a ton of snow, but yeah, the earth is changing. And we're getting hot summers. Notice people have been awake a lot during the night. It makes me think about people that might live out in the desert. Our natural rhythm to not be out in the sweltering sun. What's good for humans. So here we are, another Sunday. Wow, that is very contrast. It'll be fun, I'm sure. Okay. So yes. Well, maybe this is this the same size? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the color. Alright. So on the spiritual journey, Ben, I'm learning and mastering this way of a wise one. I have learned, because I look at other religions too, because if you're attached to yours and you don't listen to other stuff, you can have different results. So, I'm really on the spiritual side of this religion. I've looked at power and how we all have greater power, recognizing the divinity that is higher than ourselves, that is connected to everything. Our, our higher self us. We have our own power, our own greater power, and that divinity, or the divinity that is in ourselves, and the divinity that is in the connection to each other, and the divinity that is in our connection to the earth, and our connection, and the divinity into our connection with the universe and all living things. And we are really small when it comes to our connection with the universe. I mean, we are itsy bitsy, teeny tiny, microscopic. I mean, space is vast. Everything, universe, multiverse. Oh my gosh, yes. And it's ever expanding and ever retracting. And there's divinity in that. So I've been learning on a spiritual journey and mastering it, mastering myself. But at one point in time, they may have, I'm not saying this is what they did, they may have, because I've got to learn more, and find sources that used to be talk of God, or what God was way back then to people was yourself, or your inner self, and your higher inner self. It's a reference to yourself. So it's not I worship, I am the greatest, oh, feed my ego. It's that self without ego that's higher, that subconscious part that we share, that we strive for. That divinity. The nirvana that a lot of people search for, happiness. And I have this belief that we all deserve it. Even people I don't like. This is not. Why is this stuck? I don't know if this is acrylic, but it still feels like it's the same lines brand. There's another one. I don't even know if these are the same. Oh, these are pretty. It's pretty though. It does go with them. It doesn't. It's quite different. But yeah.
That's why you're stuck.
Hmm?
That's why you're stuck.
I had another snag. I had to move some threads around. And I unstuck it a little. And then I pulled some more and then unstuck it. So I've been trying to learn.
Yeah, you didn't get the one from the inside.
Huh?
You didn't get the one from the inside.
The one that was inside? No, I got the one that was outside, yeah. I pulled from the inside, and that's what I found, was the outside one. It was an end. Do I have to ball it now? Do I have to fight? No, there's no way I could ball. Do I find the one that was inside and pull it and ball it up until there's... Why are you opening that? Does that make it better?
Yeah. You will probably need to put a container in it, though.
There's your tissues. I'm probably gonna have to ball it.
Container it at the very least.
You know what?
Container it.
Container it. The box is behind you. On the dresser. That works.
And every once in a while, you're just gonna have to.
Huh?
Every once in a while, you're just gonna have to slack it up.
That's what I've been doing for all the other ones. I think. I am not professional at this. I do not get paid for this. Not yet. Yeah. So, here we are. What we do, how we think, what happens to us, and what we do about what happens to us. Understanding ourselves and each other. But I have learned that I do move towards not good or evil, that start to get rid of the concept of good and evil, strive to be inclusive, treat people with equality. It's something that I feel would, for me, might take years of undoing the things that we subconsciously will say one thing, but our actions will represent a different meaning. Revealing beliefs of inequality. I strive to handle anger and hate by filling it with curiosity. And it's a struggle. It's a practice where I have to learn. Don't have to. Where I learn. Bless you.
Thank you.
And there goes my train of thought. Bye.
Sorry.
Huh?
Sorry.
It's not like people don't sneeze. It's not like your sneeze intentionally went, "You shall not have your train of thought." No.
No, I'm not that good. I may intend to be distracting, but I'm not that good.
Yeah. I also strive to not take offense, which is difficult. Because people are just offended by my existence, it feels, at times. I strive not to tell people or be told what I think, feel, want. I have a cute story. So, my kiddo, we're at the store, and something like, my dad brought up, "Oh, you want candy or cereal or something?" I'm like, "You don't want that. No, you don't." I was just being joking and sure of them, old habits. And my kiddo, my troublemaker goes, "You don't get to tell me what I don't want. You're my parent and you tell me what I need, but you don't tell me what I want or don't want. You don't tell me how I feel. You don't tell me how I..." And I'm like, high five. That's wicked. Raise your right. You got it. Yeah. So, I mean, and it does lead to a very different structure and a healthier structure where you independently have your feelings and your thoughts, and your desires and your sense of self, your essence. And they can speak up. And they're in a place where it's safe to speak up and say so. That is some bounds and leaps of healing that mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that really gets a person into a place that they can be themselves and who and what they are. So it's been a journey where those simple things have been trampled on so many instances. It's hard to recognize when it's not, or to bring attention to when it's not um, been trampled on. And the spiritual journey that we're on with each other, like to recognize that this is a very healthy way of life, is that an individual entity of life has their own sense. Even if they don't yet understand it, it doesn't mean that they don't have it. So treating babies and people and plants, apparently plants can hear you. Plants have, and they can see you apparently, and they talk to each other. The animals the same. They should have equal, because we live in an ecosystem. Even though it feels like humans are striving to be outside the ecosystem, we're still of a form of animal. And animals aren't beneath us, and we're not, there's no above or below. It's a system. Hopefully, it's a symbiotic system rather than parasitic. But you have a system that we nourish each other. The sun nourishes us, and we don't nourish the sun back. But it's kind of nice that we don't blow the sun up or block out the sun, so that other forms of life can live. We live together, and the more harmoniously we live, the healthier we become. So if we think, oh, we should just get rid of mosquitoes, and I have noticed though, if you keep the water moving, don't have stagnant water, there tends to be less mosquitoes. And simply just keep the water moving. Though I don't know how well that works for. There's still more information to find out about for canals and rivers and things that mosquitoes grow by. But yeah. And I noticed that if you keep, the population of, say, mosquito eaters go up, and continuously, different plants and different animals and creatures that eat the plants, that eat the creatures, and we continuously decompose or whatever, move within. And just like permaculture seems to yield more crop than just regular farming. So the more you live harmoniously, it seems the more we benefit. And the more we benefit, the more we give back. So if we do that in our social circles, it's so far it stands to reason. I don't know what the differences or the variances would be, but it's kind of nice to be giving back because it feels good to give back a lot of times for me, and a lot of other people have talked that I've heard have talked about um, giving back. Feels good. Usually my foot's hanging when I do that. I don't know how you do that with your knees all the way up. Doesn't it cause a lot of muscle to just sit there? It's comfortable?
Didn't notice until you said something.
Huh?
Didn't notice until you said something.
I know, I do that too, and don't notice until something brings my attention to it. You know, if you sit there and ADHD with the hypertension or whatever it is with the moving. And it's interesting how it gets the brain working if we're sitting there moving our bodies. Our brain doesn't just sit, which is interesting because why do we like to enjoy sit still and read? For some of us, not all of us. And sit and learn, I don't understand that. So the getting up and the moving is fantastic. The glimpses of learning, how we learn. It's always interesting. So how we learn about spirituality, how we learn, what we learn from this is how they did it, this is how they did it, this is how they did it, no why. The most important part gets buried. The how or the why gets buried. Over to. I've also learned my practice to start to let go of judgments. Oh, not joke. Doesn't fit. Keep your area environment. I've been learning to keep the environment neat. And that's a different challenge because with the narrow spicy and my narrow spicy friends or people that are in my circles, that they don't always have nice and neat stuff. Our stuff becomes clutter. Does it help or does it hinder? Like religion used to help. But the question became, who was it helping and who was getting hurt while they were helping? So striving, I'm learning, and this comes in my everyday world. I'm striving to do these practices Am I perfect at it? Well, he would probably attest to me not being perfect at it by far, but the progress we both have made hopefully is enough progress to find some happiness. In the pursuit of happiness. And it seems that happiness is worth pursuing. The type of happiness is intriguing. And that we strive for nirvana, or that we strive for the highest happiness and results of having zen, peace, and happiness, or regulated emotions. I mean, what that does spiritually. You have to wonder, so why are a lot of spiritual Jennies striving for happiness? What's so important about happiness? Well, the pursuit of things we enjoy. Sometimes I wonder what gives us little dopamine hits, what gives us longer lasting types of happiness, euphoria. There was a word, it's not dopamine. It's, yeah. Alright. So it's a healthy balance. And this is that we strive for good health. But I would love for you to interact with the video and you watch it and get a chance. Why do we want to end suffering? I know I want to. I definitely want to end suffering. I don't like to watch people suffer. It makes me feel bad in a way that I want to do something. It moves me towards an action where I want to avoid feeling that, where I want to avoid the feeling and the stuff that makes that feeling available for others. Sure, where they have difficulty with something, where I want to give them tools which they can engage with their experiences so that they can overcome their difficulties if they so wish. And I have to wonder what ancient civilizations and ancient different types of humans and different types of humanoids, bipedal, different species, enjoy. I don't think we've had the chipmunk yet, or laid out the peanuts. Chipmunk. Yeah. What thing? What? What beliefs did they carry? What methods of living did they have? Did they have concepts of good and evil? Or is that a totally modern, recent, couple hundred years kind of thing? What things that they did to get rid of suffering? And things that they wanted to avoid? What kind of suffering did they have? And why did they have it? And what did they do about it? And how is suffering so universal? And happiness as well, so universal? I talk a lot about it because I'm striving to understand it so that I can move through it, move past, move around it, move under it, move over it, avoid it, so that I can start engaging in happiness and the lovey-dovey feelings, the warm, fuzzy feelings, and the euphoric, so previously stated, endorphins. That's the word I was looking for. Not dopamines, but other longer-lasting endorphins. And the benefits that endorphins bring up, because it's not just, oh, I feel good. It's the way we make decisions. When we make decisions under duress or in fight or flight mode, I can never pronounce the type of nervous system uh, activation that we go through. What's activated? The fight or flight, the relaxing, digesting, as they call it, and the other one, it's one thing that I'm going to have to train myself how to say. The shutdown are the three recognized, understood types of systems that our body goes through, and then spiritual ecstasy, nirvana, and happiness that we strive for. And I strive. My ultimate goal is for ascension, and it's seemingly private as it is. What I don't understand is why ascension isn't available for everyone. Everyone deserves ascension. The West, to the best, and everything in between. I don't understand why we can't all ascend. Why we can't just reincarnate and learn and learn and learn, and why we aren't striving for ascension. I thought everybody strived for ascension, not some small few prophet. I just don't understand why the pain and grief of death or loss from death, uh, why we can't move towards ascension. Man, what's the next step, right? In life or death, moving towards ascension, moving towards thought. Man, something that we heard of. But scientifically, I mean, if it's far more common, then we can probably get more scientific testing on ascension. We can get people to strive to understand the nature of it and move towards it, and less pain. With the scene, I can conjecture and speculate and hypothesize, but that's the ultimate goal, and it feels like I'm so far behind in that journey. And I could be. the alternative. You would think that so many more people would try to avoid the alternative. If we don't like death, there's so many people are uncomfortable with death in the US. You would think more would strive towards ascension. Is there some sort of gatekeeping that doesn't allow you to learn that ascension is something that you might want to strive for? Is there such disbelief with ascension that we just don't? Speculating. I end up speculating. I don't have to do anything. That's the thing with the PDA so inclusively. If I want to avoid so that PDAs feel uncomfortable, pathological demand avoidance. It's not something that's controllable. So given the structure, which isn't a have to or this is or strict structure, but striving towards ascension and treating life in a what we would call a heavenly manner, a heaven like on earth, releasing fields of plentiful, wonderful, existence amongst each other, building a connection to each other because we're this. If you look at society as a living, breathing organism, interacting with this organism of Earth, and you look at the connection, it gets a little strange. Driving and doing things that pollute the earth or that are removed from, like, if the earth had feelings and thoughts, and if the earth was an entity or a living space ball moving through or a living nucleus. Yeah, and we support like little bolts of electricity that are continuously striving matter and moving, the essence of who and what we are. That's strange. It's a strange concept. And I don't talk about this amongst all the people that I meet, but if I don't look at it and consider it, the folly would be to not look at it and to not consider it. It'd be like those things like, why didn't you tell me? And the other person replies, you didn't ask. So if we ask the questions, and we strive for the knowledge, and we strive evaluating the intelligence that allows us to seek out answers and to seek out the way we know and what we know and how we know it and how we test that knowledge. And it's there and it feels pretty universal to me. I don't think we're alone. I think many animals and plants and living, breathing, organisms have thoughts and feelings and a sense of self. I mean, like I was sad. I tell my kids that's their home. That's the home of the bees and they're our neighbors. The squirrels are our neighbors and the birds and the deer and all the other wildlife that live right outside. That's their house. So we should treat it like that's their house. That's where they live. And if we treat it like that, then a lot of the things that we do as humans is pretty evasive. Yeah. It sounds hippie-like, but I look at the alternative and I'm like, when we get rid of certain species, and in that void we find poor health in the ecosystem, we find, oh, now, we get rid of marsh wildlife. And then all of a sudden, mosquitoes are far more spreading disease like WiseOne and whatnot. And it's like, oh, what? We killed off all the frogs somehow, and wonder why it's like that. And we have this balanced ecosystem that took billions of years to develop. I mean, she knew what she was doing. She took a while to do it. I'm pretty sure she knows what she's doing. So if you have a situation in your life, I suggest you look at Mother Nature, anywhere from your backyard to all the way around the world, from the deepest sea to the highest mountains. And I'm sure she's had the same situation and she's just dealt with it differently. And it tends to have a long-term effect that we could all enjoy. It's just like, it's hard to believe that humans can come up with problems and situations that hasn't been done in the last, what was it, 4.6 billion years?
Something like that.
From what we're aware of or understand it to be 4.6 billion years. I mean, we weren't alive or conscious of that as existence 4.6 billion years. So that's from what we understand of the science that we've uncovered and tested and developed and know of. This is what we understand of our world, and I'm pretty sure if you can't do something that you need to do or want to do, I'm sure that the Earth has done it before. That is my philosophy. So there is quite a bit of philosophy that I've developed or rediscovered, because I'm sure there are similar philosophies. Like I was looking at Stoicism, which is interesting. Stoicism, and yeah, looking at different philosophies allows you to engage in the same things that you learn around the world and in your world and in your existence in a different way. And it's without that philosophy going about your world, it's sort of interesting that more and more people in my social media are discussing the internal monologue and how some people don't develop an internal monologue until later, and they describe it as hearing voices, and they come to discover that it's their voice inside their head doing reasoning and problem solving and uh, complex uh, complex intellectual type of doing. So it doesn't mean that they're stupid before they had internal monologues. It's just that they hadn't had a need, or they didn't understand, or they had become aware of, even if they had it previously and they just became aware of people. And it's scary if we don't talk about it. That's why I want to talk about it in this video. The internal monologue, this part of your higher self talking. And sometimes this higher self can be damaged, where we tell ourselves, oh, you're no good, you're stupid, you're never going to make it. I don't know why you even bother and try. And I had that voice when I was little, and it's taught to us, and it's shown, helps keep us humble. And it can go horribly awry until you stop, until you're depressed and unable to function, and horrible things can happen listening to the voice when it's damaged like that. And for some odd reason, when I started taking iron supplements, that voice got much quieter and easier to ignore and easier to tell to F off. And it's not so much that that voice went away, is that that voice started singing a different tune. And it's not so much that voice is my voice, my internal voice, my higher self voice, started singing a different tune internally, an internal monologue, which is very important on a spiritual journey, and complex reasoning and complex intellectual problem solving and learning these types of things with our higher self and part of our journey. So and I don't just have monologue, I have dialogue, internal dialogue. I have internal fantasia, and my internal fantasia does not turn off, does not shut up. I think the closest I have gotten my internal monologue or my internal fantasia to shush is extremely loud music where I can't hear my own thoughts. Rock music, listening to the radio station. So sometimes if I need that peace and quiet, having that noise stopping myself from hearing my own voice. But sometimes if you can't turn off the voice and it drives you to the point of distress. Another method that people have enjoyed is white noise, or they'll call it different colors, like brown noise, green noise. Just noise or certain frequencies, certain tones and pitches that drowned out. Or if you can even match it, then match the sort of like white noise with a baby who sits there and cries, and white noise helps. Of learning that the sound of silence, your brain, this complex organ that we have in the organism of our body, this organ that works, this highly, I mean, you can be as spiritual as you want with it, this well-designed creature that we all are. We have these brains, and these brains operate, and they don't shut down, because otherwise we would be brain dead. So even when we sleep, even when there's no sound, your brain is busy making a baseline sound so that it can recognize a sound when a sound occurs. So having quiet or having peaceful sound, your brain is still active. It's still talking to itself. It's still going, is there sound yet? Is there sound yet? Is there something going on yet? And your brain talks to itself from the ear to the brain, to the brain to the ear, saying, do you hear something? Is anything going on? Is there a vibration? Is there something I need to pick up and process? Do you have info? Sort of like certain AIs that check, systems that go like, hey, do you have anything for me to work on? Oh, okay, not today. All right. Then the next day, do you have something for me to work on? Oh, okay, not today. Oh, do you have something for me to work on? So your ear is constantly doing that. And apparently some of the methods of trying to cure tinnitus, is that how it's pronounced? Tinnitus?
Something like that.
Tinnitus, the ringing inside your ear, is to match the frequency. So if you have your higher self or your inner monologue or your inner fantasia is being destructive, I guess learning, a lot of people who have gone through trauma do enjoy heavy rock metal or techno, or the thumping and the throbbing and the violently seemingly type of environment, because it matches and it drowns out the feeling of negativity or the part that we want to avoid. So if you want to change, so sometimes when we're feeling threatened, we get loud to match the threat. If you have a healthier type of loud, or a type of, if you change the channel of what you're thinking about, I have found that helps me. So if you're trying to quiet yourself down, put something distractingly loud for the ADHD traits. That helps. That's that type of accommodation. That helps a lot. Drown out a lot of thoughts until you can strengthen your inner voice or your inner monologue or your inner discussion and fantasia into a healthier, stronger of what you want to move towards, dependent on your personal desire. So moving towards a higher self that is healed, that is part of the great divine, the greater than all of us divine, everything connected to each other and the higher self. So move towards that frequency, that those good vibrations, those good vibes, the good energy, that electrical signature of frequency that moves in a three-dimensional way through space and through ourselves, that we, through time and space. Well, that's simply the divinity in which I recognize, at least. It works. And I like it. Yeah, that's what I strive for. So coming to peace, coming to nirvana, coming to oneself, and building that health, that good health, or the health that we want to strive towards. So instead of getting good or bad, I've assigned it a term of avoidance or attraction, though attraction seems to have an association with law of attraction, which they'll get on it and it'll sound right, and they'll sound right and sound right, and then it'll sound off. And crazy and not attuned to it'll seem like it's not accurate to pertaining to an experienced life and the way we know it. It'll start off making sense and then it won't make sense pertaining to our current events. We get to sound like gibberish. And so there would be avoidance, neutral, and yeah, positive attraction. So sort of like magnetism. It's an emotionally charged state of existence. And it works like electrically charged magnet. We do work like that. And we work. Humans go towards the simple, electricity follows the simplest path, the easiest path, and we as humans follow so as well. So far, that's what I have found to be true. And I mean, our godly selves, our divine selves, we move towards what we like. So it's positive, negative, so much. But if we get rid of this badness, good, have to, feels more have to. And if I'm right about the PDA, I'm going to move away from the have to, rigid structure cultivated by good and evil. And that can become a matter of perspective and opinion. So yeah, that is the philosophy, my spiritual means, that is the religion that I am building of the wise one. I've given you lots to consider. So I'm going to let this video go. And you can visit it and go through it again if you'd like. I offer that. I'm not saying that, oh, you can do this as if you didn't realize. But if you hadn't realized, I offer that you can go through this live video and it'll be up on YouTube over and over again. And you can revisit points that you want to and move through desire. But I appreciate you joining. Oh, more video as I yap and preach. And we'll get into our wisdom books next Sunday. Ugh. Oh, it is time for me to strive towards being healthier again and getting stretching, getting my body into the attuned for this weather that has made my joints. So I'm going to see what I can do about these joints and learn, be more wise about my physical self. So yeah, thank you so much for joining or watching. And until next Sunday, thank you. Love you guys. I love you. Love you. And until next we meet, have a good one.